Hey everyone, I'm Michael Fangman, product designer for Secure Dynamic Analysis. This video is to walk you through the FY23 UX roadmap for dynamic application security testing, or DAST. Before we get into the roadmap, I first want to share with you a little bit of background and context around what UX roadmaps are and how they're developed. So UX roadmaps are a strategic living artifact that aligns, prioritizes, and communicates a product design team's future work and problems they're trying to solve. They should act as a single source of truth for the team's North Star vision, serving as a blueprint for their strategy. So in short, they essentially help designers, researchers, developers, and other stakeholders align around a single vision and set of priorities for the year. So now let's quickly review how UX roadmaps are made. So UX roadmaps are developed first by gathering inputs from existing group and category work. So pulling in the current goal and vision for the category, looking at any existing issues, epics, and other planned or in progress work, identifying relevant jobs to be done for the category or group, and then lastly, looking at actionable and informative insights from research initiatives. After we pull all the inputs together, we then got together for a 2-hour synchronous workshop where we started by discussing the overarching goal statement for the category. We then reviewed all of the different inputs, so the issues, the insights, and the relevant jobs to be done, and began clustering them into different themes or categories. After we've worked through and identified and clustered all of the different inputs into themes, we then go through a refinement process where we go through each theme and sort of identify the overarching need for the theme, who's the beneficiary of that theme, what's the business objective, the anticipated outcome, and then how confident we are in that theme. After we refine the themes, we then would work through a prioritization process where we essentially look at sort of the confidence, the reach, the impact, and the level of effort that goes into each theme and prioritize them accordingly. So the 2-hour workshop might seem like a lot of time, but it does fly by really fast. But basically what comes out of it is a nice, strong foundation for a team's UX roadmap that can be then transitioned into GitLab and further refined for planning. So with that background and context in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at the FY23 DAST UX roadmap. So the DAST roadmap lives in an epic within the GitLab.org project. And each roadmap is going to consist of a high-level goal or vision for the year. And then we'll have sort of themes or bundles of work that, when combined, should help add up and achieve this overarching vision. So the vision statement for DAST for FY23 is to make DAST easier for teams to understand and integrate into their development process. And so we've identified 4 themes that contribute to this vision. And each theme essentially will have a beneficiary, an overarching need, a business objective, a confidence level, and then any sort of sub-themes, features, and solutions that sort of factor in and feed up into that theme. So the first theme that we identified for DAST is to increase adoption by making DAST more approachable for new users. And so the main beneficiary of this theme is pretty obvious. It's new users of dynamic application security testing features in GitLab. And so really the need that we identified here is that new users need to be able to come in and understand the value and purpose of DAST when they're interacting with it in GitLab. Obviously, not everyone's a pro in application security testing, and some of the concepts and terminologies and ways these tools work may be, not be familiar to some users. And so we want to make sure that the UI and the way we approach this is easy to understand and that we're really clearly communicating the value and purpose of this tool. And this will help encourage users to hopefully try it out and use it for the first time. So then the other need in this theme, beyond just understanding the value and purpose of the tool, is being able to set up DAST without being an expert in application security testing. So just making it more learnable, more approachable, and more usable. And by addressing these needs, we feel that we will increase adoption, making DAST just more learnable and usable for first-time users. So we have a pretty, I'd say, medium to medium high confidence to this theme. We do have some research that we've done that helps sort of factor into that confidence level. I still think there's probably a little bit more we can do to feed into how we want to address this theme. But there are 8 sort of sub-themes or future solutions that we've identified currently that feed into this theme. And I'm sure there's probably some more out there. So if you do know of any or find any issues that are existing around that aren't pulled into this, feel free to let me know and we can make sure that they get categorized appropriately. So I guess the feature and subthemes here kind of all feed into improving learnability. So the first handful are really focused around improving learnability in the UI. So two of them are sort of new designs that are already in progress. So looking at a redesigned on-demand DAST configuration page, a redesigned CI/CD DAST configuration page, and then looking at sort of DAST profiles and how do we improve the sort of UI learnability and then workflow within those. And then there's some other sort of smaller issues in here around just smaller pain points that we've seen come up from solution validation testing with users around some of these new features. And then this subtheme actually also has a research subtheme that will hopefully help feed into this a little bit more. And so the research subtheme here is to conduct research to better understand users' expectations when enabling a security scanner. The next UX theme that we identified is to increase user efficiency by reducing configuration errors before a DAST scan is run. And so the main beneficiary of this is really anyone who's configuring DAST, especially when they're setting up a new scan for the first time. The need here is really to be able to validate that a configuration works prior to actually putting it into implementation or using it. And so really what that factors into is, so DAST scans, especially if you're running sort of a deep active scan, can take quite a while to run. And sometimes users won't know that there's configuration errors or issues with how they've set up the scan until after the scan is fully complete. So by being able to identify and validate the configuration before actually implementing it, will help save time, increase efficiency, and just reduce errors in full actual DAST scans. And we're hoping by addressing this need, it will just make the workflow and sort of the initial setup process for DAST a little bit easier and a lot less frustrating. And so ultimately, we have a pretty high level of confidence in this theme right now and have just sort of a single issue and focus on how to address it. And that's really introducing a pre-scan validation within the DAST configuration process. The next theme we identified is to increase retention by making DAST more configurable and scalable to an organization's unique needs. And so really the main beneficiary of this theme is any user who's configuring and using DAST. And so the need really is that every organization is different and uses our tools a little bit differently. And we want to allow users and organizations to be able to tailor DAST scans specifically to their organizational needs. And so there are two facets to this. First of which is just adding additional configuration options so the DAST can be more easily customized to a team or org's unique needs. The other aspect is then improving the management of DAST features so that it's easier to scale usage as needed. So making sure that DAST features can be easily used by individuals, small teams, all the way up to larger organizations, and just ensuring that it's ready to handle that kind of sort of enterprise grade usage. And so we feel that by addressing these needs, it should increase retention and promote continued use of our tool. We have a pretty, I'd say, a medium confidence in this right now. We do have some research that factors into that confidence level, but I think there's a little bit more that needs to be done just to better understand and identify exactly how we want to approach this. And so there are 8 sub-themes within this theme. They're really broken down into 2 main categories. So the first of which is around customization. So this is really looking at what features and customization options are we surfacing within the UI. So looking at sort of the options within site and scanner profiles, and then just other general configuration options, and then looking at how we can just improve the customization of the tool a little bit more. And then the other 5 issues here are really focused around how to make DAST more scalable for teams and organizations. So some of these things are just small right now, and others I think are a little bit bigger and require some research and whatnot to kind of figure out the right direction for. So some of the small ones include like understanding how we want to handle deleting site and scanner profiles, adding search and filtering to on-demand scans, allowing users to save active scans with unvalidated sites, so in-progress configuration forms so they don't lose their work, and then displaying owners of scans. One issue that will be a little bit larger and overarching, and we'll have to do a bit of research to better understand how we approach it, is looking at restricting profile features to certain access levels and such too. The last theme that we identified for DAST is to increase engagement by making DAST scans easier to monitor and understand. And so the beneficiary of this theme is really anyone who's using, running, and consuming the result of a DAST scan. And so the overarching need here is users need the ability to be able to understand the status of a DAST scan while it's happening, if it's failed, if it's completed properly, to be able to understand the intricacies of that individual scan and determine what next steps come out of that. So we're hoping by addressing this need, it will increase engagement within DAST. So currently we have a lower confidence level in this theme. There's a bit more research that needs to be done to understand what specifically users' pain points are within this, what they're expecting and how we want to address it. But we did identify sub-themes or features that feed into this right now. So those essentially come down to focusing on like adding better error states around scans. So if a scan has an error or an issue, trying to surface those and make those more understandable and actionable. Adding sort of start dates to scheduled on-demand scans so users can know if a reoccurring on-demand scan is happening, when that series will start, and just more information around that so users can understand when scans are happening. Some of the more interesting ones here is adding sort of additional details and stats around completed scans, being able to view the result of a scan while it's running, and being able to review the results of a scan regardless of what state it's in. So even if a scan failed, being able to see what it found and what caused issues and why it failed. So I think that pretty much covers just a high-level overview of the DAST UX roadmap and what we're thinking for FY23. Before I wrap up this video, I just want to remind you that UX roadmaps are living, breathing documents that will grow and evolve over time. So they're not set in stone. Ultimately, the purpose of them is to help align our team on a single vision and set of priorities for the year. So I welcome any feedback and questions you have. I encourage you to comment in the issues on the epics or reach out to Derek or myself if you have any ideas, questions, and whatnot. And if you see any DAST issues that are floating around that aren't that are UX related, that aren't factored into this roadmap right now, let me know if you think they fit into any existing categories and themes. I think there's a bit of work here to make sure we're capturing all of the existing work, categorizing it properly, and then refining these themes to make sure they make sense for DAST. So thank you for taking the time to watch this. I hope you have a great day.